Welcome to the Upshift Podcast, where changemakers meet and commune and find out how each other is doing their part in changing the world. Welcome. In today's show, we have Kachelle Steigerwald, a very easy name to say, who I happen to know because she's a neighbor in my neighborhood. And we adore Kachelle because of what she does for the community. But I'm going to have Kachelle tell you who she is and what she does kind of for a job and for her passion. So Kachelle, welcome to the Upshift. And let us know a little bit more about you right now.
Well, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure living in the building with you and other people. So you're definitely a bright asset in my life. Wish I saw you more. Right now, I am currently working at TVA, Tennessee Valley Authority. I've been there a little over 5 years, and I love my role because it truly is an organization that serves the people of the Valley. It's a vast organization that does so many things. I was a previous auditor back in my life after graduating from college where, you could go in a company, you could look at a company after a week, you could say, this is what I recommend. This is what you need to do. These are your financials. And with TVA, it's just so different because it's so vast, and we bring so much to the area. So I like to joke. I don't like to manage people anymore because people are crazy. But at TVA, they're really smart and crazy. So, but they're good people. They're good people. I love what I do, but I also I wish I had more time to do things outside of work. There's so many things in the community that so many people do that just I don't have the bandwidth for, and I do what I can. And I'm involved. I'm on the board with CareCuts. It's a local homeless community organization they started doing haircuts, for the homeless, and then it's turned into this massive thing that we're trying to keep open on a daily basis to give resources. And it's something I'm passionate about. The need, as you know, living downtown, we see it more than the average bear of what our homeless community sees and faces. And just last week, we had one of our homeless people that I've known from the day I moved down here almost 8 years ago. He froze to death when we had warming shelters at night, and it was just those kind of things just hit me so hard at home that it's you know, when anyone dies is tragic, but when someone that dies, that's a good, gentle person, and there were warming centers open. Like, how did this happen? And I don't know. It feels like I let them down in a way, which I know I didn't, but it's just that thing. I wish I had more time to help people and do things our society and world needs a lot more than what I've been able to give.
Well, Kachelle, yeah, I feel like you give a lot, but tell our audience what it is you do for TVA because you kind of skipped over that part.
So I started at TVA in like an assurance group. TVA has the OIG. So they kind of do the audit for TVA, but inside TVA, they kind of had a small group that I joined when I came into TVA. And I loved it because it was kind of that thing. You get to ask a bunch of questions and look around in people's stuff and kind of help them be better. But I transitioned that into the governance framework, which really is the tool that TVA uses to hold everyone accountable, which is very important for TVA through the Kingston ash spill. After that, we need to be able to, if something happens, who was responsible for it? What were they responsible to do, and where did it break down? So, like at a bank, I liken it to a bank. You know what a bank does? It has a function. It loans money, it stores money, and all that stuff. TVA has 37 key functions that have to happen. Water management, turning on the lights. Like, you go through their list, there's 37 of them. And financial services is one of them. And out of financial services at TVA, there's 60 essential functions that have to happen for financial services to be successful. So if something happens, say we file our SEC report and something was inaccurate, who was responsible for that part of it? Like, we need to have that accountability. So that was my role for a while, was to kind of get all of that organized in a nutshell. And I was also over enterprise risk management, which risk is, every day it gets more and more interesting with risk, with climates and all the different things that are happening. So I really love that. But in April, I started a new role at TVA, which is a good thing. You get to roll around a lot at TVA in a lot of different roles to kind of see the vastness of the organization. So it kind of gives you a little bit depth of that business acumen. But right now, I'm in accounting policy and research. So it is a little nerdy and technical because utility counting has some special things going on. And as you know, with a lot of changing things in our power industry with our energy demands and how we're trying to move to battery energy storage system and a lot of different things that are new, like new nuclear technology. We have a lot of different accounting policies that come out that I get to read a lot of guidance on and share the guidance, and that's how we apply it internally at TVA. So
Guidance and policy. I have my own background in that with the water quality.
yes, you do. Yeah.
Which,
Important it is though, right? Like,
yes, very
yeah.
much. Yeah, and we actually ended up going up against TVA because of that ash spill back in the day. But you know what? That brings it all back down to being accountable. That's an amazing role, period. Who's accountable? And the fact that a large government, and I guess enterprise will not let the managers choose scapegoats. Managers won't
Right.
roll the dookie downhill.
That's right.
You're rolling that dookie right back up to the hill, because if there's a bad employee, and I do believe in this, if there's a bad employee, it's not their fault, it's their manager's fault. The manager's the one that really helps them be better. So
You nailed it. That's right.
I really love that about you. And that's intense work. And like you said, it's a moving target nowadays, a
True.
serious moving target. So you're busy. I know that, but I always see Kachelle with a smile, and she's running in and out. And so this other thing, your passion project, which is where you're making a difference. I know you're making a difference at TVA, but you're making a big heartfelt, for your heart only. It's not for money and for anything else or prestige. It's all because you care about people. And so is that the care haircuts,
CareCuts?
care
Yes.
cuts? But I thought you also were doing some community yoga.
I have done community yoga. Yoga is another one of my passions, and
Right.
that's one of my sayings. If you practice yoga yourself, you'll change your world. If you share yoga, you can change the world. And I don't know, I was asking another interview, like, if you ever won the lottery of X amount of million, what would you do with it? And I say, first, I'd buy another BMW because it's my favorite car. And I know it sounds ridiculous and self-serving and all the things, but I'm owning it. But the second, I want to set up a homeless shelter. So
Yeah.
it's like combining both of my passions. I want a homeless shelter where we pay people $100 to come in for 20 minutes of meditation. You get $100 and you walk out the door. Only because I just truly think that meditation is such a tool that everyone needs in our fast moving, crazy paced world. We all need to sit down and stop and pause and really take a moment of self reflection and awareness that I think yoga can bring to the homeless community, because a lot of the homeless, they just need a little bit of mindfulness. Like, their nervous systems are crazy ramped up in that hyper mode, that fight or flight mode, and yoga and mindfulness can like engage that parasympathetic system, really calm them down. And part of what I was able to do for a brief stint, I'm the Jill of many trades, master of none, is what I say. And for a brief stint, I was a wellness coach at Cherokee, and I was able to be part of their MAT lab, which is the medicated assisted clinic. And they do an amazing job. People can argue one way or the other, but my experience with them was they did an amazing job with the therapy with their clients that came in, tracking them. They required group meetings. And in these meetings, I was able to see people and share mindfulness and watch them kind of being jerky and agitated. And then within a couple of minutes of slow mindfulness, like a guided meditation, they would be calm and relaxed. And by the end of 15 minutes, they would say, I need that drug. What is that drug I need? And I'm like, exactly. Like, this is free and available to you, anytime in your life. And we all need that. But especially whenever you're going through so much that you don't even know which direction to look, it's really important to have somebody just sit there with you and hold space so that you can just take a breather for yourself. And it's, to me, it's a passion that we need more of.
Yeah. And so from the concept, let's say, of thinking, wow, this would be something really nice, and then actually doing it, what was that like for you?
It was a lot. I wish I had more of me. Like, and I made a statement, as I have in a couple of different things. I'm like, I'm going to commit to this to a certain point in time. And I look back and I tell people that do this on a daily basis that they're angels and they're hidden gems, because when you see people and you see what they struggle with every day, it takes a lot out of you. You have to be able to give a lot. And I don't know if I could do that. It's kind of like people who take care of 2-year-old toddlers every day on a daily basis. You know, a lot of them, they don't have children of their own because they give so much of themselves during that time period. And I can see how that happens. Like, giving of yourself takes a lot of energy. And for me, I have to really be careful about not overextending myself and getting overwhelmed and making sure I keep myself replenished so that I have enough to give to others whenever I'm able to. Because other than that, I just get worn out and I'm useless to anybody.
So that's a great segue. What do you do to keep yourself motivated and replenished?
It changes, but usually it always falls back to yoga. Some type of yoga. You know, I went from doing a strong Ashtanga practice. I don't know if you or the listeners know, but it's like one of the strongest, vigorous aspects of yoga you could do, to more of a slow, like as people start calling me Meemaw in my older age, as you get a little older, done more therapeutic yoga. So now I really, yoga nidra, the last month or two has been my latest current thing that I'm teach. That's my favorite thing to teach, actually. And it's my favorite thing to do. You just lay there. You just lay there comfortably in a spot for 30 minutes. Like, how hard is that? And you put yourself in therapeutic poses. It's very relaxing. And it's just something that I find that helps me. 30 minutes of yoga nidra, I'm back up and at it. What you got? What do you need from me now? What do you need from me now? And boundaries. That's another thing. So making sure I cut out time for myself, and boundaries. Boundaries are a constant struggle. I've gotten better at them, but that's still something that can very easily drain your energy if you're not careful.
I think we're all guilty of that for sure, right? I know I am. And if you've got a heart for people, it's hard to say no and to put yourself first.
It's hard.
And so that takes me to the next question. What kind of advice would you give to another entrepreneur, another passion, a person with a passion project? What would be your, let's say, top of mind wisdom nugget to give to them?
So if someone's going into a passion project, they're going to have their passion. They're going to have that energy that they need, but they can only give so much. And I'm using Marty Baker, who is the founder of CareCuts, as an example. Her passion for the homeless community is outnumbered by anyone I've ever met in my life, and her compassion and what she gives. But she's found herself. I've seen her at times where I'm like, I know she's overextended. And over this past year, she's brought in a new president to the group. You know, we've had great people that have been part of the board, but it's a new president that's kind of changing the way that they've been serving the community, taking it to another level and taking some stuff off of her. And also the other people that he's been bringing on board has been instrumental to help her carry out her passion. So if you're doing something that you're passionate about, find like-minded people who is on board with you, that's going to help you reach the goal. Do you have similar goals, and how can you organize it in the best way possible? Because you can be successful on your own, but the more you collaborate with people and the more you have people to lean on and the less that you have on your shoulders, the more you're going to be able to see it be sustainable.
I totally agree with that. Wow. And then you got to be able to receive help when people offer it. That's
And if you ever know Miss Marty, she likes to do things on her own, and that was a hard thing to give up. And you see that, like, if you see that with a lot of people. And as she started realizing that things were becoming easier in her world and there were minor compromises that she needed to make, she was more willing to say, hey, yeah, now you go do that. And I can take time to do something else. So
yeah, that's
just be
very
aware.
important. That's probably the best wisdom nugget really is to accept help when it's offered, right? Before even going out and grabbing it. So tell us something that we don't know about you.
Well, gosh, I'm an open book, unfortunately. I've been, like I said, Jill many trades. I'm a yoga teacher. I do like these acting things on the side, like Talent Trek. Like, a lot of Knoxville has true crime shows, and people are really into these true crime shows. And I just find these crews that do it, they're interesting, fun people. But I guess the biggest thing that a lot of people really don't know, and it's quite embarrassing, is I moved to Tennessee because I was aspiring to be a singer. My
Okay.
mom talked me into moving. She was in Pigeon Forge at the time, and she's like, "There's this place called Dollywood.
Oh,
No, you've wanted to sing. Let's come up to Dolly. Now, if somebody were to move to Tennessee that was aspiring to be a singer, where would they go, Angela? Where would they go?
Nashville, probably.
Hollywood. So needless to say, it wasn't long before I went back and got my degree from UT and figured out something else that I needed to do.
So we're gonna end on this question.
Okay.
If
All right.
you could change one thing in this world, what would it be?
Well, I'm hesitant to come out of the gate too quickly with my answer. And I'll be interested how I feel about this if I listen to it in 5 years, to be honest. But my gut just tells me right away inequality. I see so much of it things in our building that kind of, at a different level, but an inequality with societal limitations of what people have opportunities for, what people don't, what incomes are, inequality. That's my big answer.
Maybe that would include also social cliques and the
Yeah,
inequalities that they create, right?
without a doubt. Unfortunately true. And sometimes I wonder if it's getting better or worse.
Yeah. Who knows? It might be just humans, part of the
Yeah,
human condition.
true. Very
Well,
true.
is there any little wisdom, little nugget? I always ask for a nugget for our audience, like a Kachelle-ism that you could leave us with today.
Ism. So, I was going through some quotes for a project I did about 5 or 6 years ago, and I found one that I said back then. And it still resonates today, but differently. So I'll share that as my little nugget of wisdom. I say, one of the hardest things about making difficult changes and moving forward are those moments when you get a glimpse of the past and you see how easy it would be to turn around and go back. But you're also knowing that you are meant to keep moving forward. So I can remember exactly what I was going through at that moment in time, and while it's completely changed, it still applies to me in a different way today.
Yeah. Wow. Thank you for taking time out of your uber busy day.
Hey, it's good to see you. Thank you for having me.
Of
We need to
course.
get together more.
All right. And we will see you down the road. See you in the building sometime.
I'm sure.
All
All
right.
right. Have a good one. Bye.
Thanks, Kachelle, for today's time with you. You are listening to the Upshift Podcast, where thought leaders and change makers meet. Kachelle's quite a change maker. She does a lot more than she actually said. And we did have a little chat after the show, and there's a lot of stress going on, a lot of change that's going on in her big organization that she works for, and talked about hiring me to come in to do a session with groups of people that some of their productivity has gone down because of their stress and the fear of jobs and all that kind of stuff. So if you're thinking of that, or you work in a place there's a high stress level, reach out to me. I'm your host, and I would love to get to know you better too. So email me at angel@angelhoward.co. Book me for that engagement or a speaking engagement to your favorite group. You can go to my website, angelhoward.co, or dive deeper into your own personal journey and buy my book, Issues in Your Tissues, on Amazon. See you next time.